Okay, so we have the structure of our script set up, and now we just want to come back to our for loop and specify some instructions for, as we're looping through this string, what happens when we hit a plus or an X or a bracket, etc. So the first one we're going to do is the rotation for the left, and we'll just comment that out, make it a little bit clearer for ourselves. And we'll say if our character is equal to plus, then in these brackets we'll say call out movevec variable, and we can type rotate to give it an operation. Then the input will be our rotation angle that we set up here earlier. And we're going to use vector 3D, and if we use the dot component again, we can specify the axis. So we're going to keep it on the y-axis for now, and then we can close that off. So basically that's going to be exactly the same for our rotate right. We just need to change these. And we just need to make one small change here, and that's instead of rotating, I guess, in a clockwise direction, we're going to reverse that using -1. And going to multiply that by our rotation angle. Okay, so that's our rotate left and right. But we also want to add in the ability to, we're kind of stuck on the y-axis in one plane of movement. So in order for this to be 3D, we're going to add in some rotation for the x-axis. So we're going to use the left arrow and the right arrow. And we'll say rotate x axis, and we might just specify a locked amount. So we'll just put in the value of 25. You can change this to whatever you want, but basically, yeah, you just need to give it something to initially go off. And with this one, we're just going to do a similar thing, except we'll reverse it so that we can move in the other direction. Okay. So now we just need to change our direct axis. So we'll go to X for both of these. And this time we're going to multiply by 25. And -25. Okay, so that's set up all our rotation directions. We also need to set up a instruction if we want to draw forward. So if you remember from our total graphics derivation, we use F, and Let's set this up like so. Calling our f character, curly brackets. And we want to say going to create a new 3D point called new point 1, which is going to be located at our origin point that we set up before. And for this, we just need to give the x, y, and z values again. And making sure that they're in capitals as well. Okay, so we've got our starting position for our forward movement. Then we want to save that position to our array. So we can call our array points list and then add to that. And tell it what we're adding. Cool. From there, we need to create a second point because remember we need to have 2 points in space to draw a line. And this one we'll call new point 2. And this is exactly the same. We're starting at the origin, so we can just copy and paste this. And new point 2 is going to be added Okay, so what we have here, we're creating a second point at the same location with this first line. And then we want to save that point to our array. But while we're doing that, we're also using our vector 3D direction, our current direction, and multiplying it by our move variable, which is the current sort of position that we're holding. And then, yeah, by the length of that. So when we use length, that's actually referring to this value as set by here. So that allows that to change on the fly. It's a little bit complicated, but yeah, it's kind of just keeping all of those operations in one nested thing. So then once we have that, we can just save that to save the point to the new, or save the new point to the array. And then finally, we want to reset our origin, or basically make our origin equal to this new point. So as it's moving from one point to the next, it's referring to the new point, and that way you can create a kind of a string of lines rather than always reverting back to our origin point. Okay, so that's it for draw forward. Now we just need to determine what happens when we hit one of these brackets, and our brackets are essentially either starting or ending a branch. So we can think of that as like saving the current position that we're in and the direction. And we'll use the open bracket for that. So we'll call our character open bracket and say if we hit one of these, we very similar to what we just did, we want to create a new point. Actually, we can copy this entire line. But this time we're adding to our container that we created before, the PT stack. Here for our kind of current position point. So PT stack, add it to as new point 1. And then we just need to do the same for the direction. Actually, we'll just type this out. As new vec, create a new vector 3D using our move vec at our X and Y and Z position. And again, we'll just save that to our V stack this time using add new vec. Okay. So now that we have this, we can essentially copy and paste this for the end of a branch, but we're going to make some changes. So in order to do this, we're essentially retrieving our previous position that we were at and then creating a new direction from there. So yeah, ending the branch. So with a close bracket, we're going to say, actually, no, we're going to go from the start. So we'll grab our origin point. And going to make it equal to our PT stack, where we want to access the last point in the stack, basically, so our most recent position. So to do that, we grab pt stack count, which remember gives us the entire list, and then we say -1, which gives us the last item on that list. And we do the same for our vector. Oh, forgot my column there. And then we just want to remove that last point. So again, just referencing it through the count -1. Okay, so that is essentially grabbing that last position and then ending the list there. All right, so that should be it for the code. Now let's run it and see what errors we've got.